All right. Hello, everybody. I am Brian from Wicko's Carnivore. We've got Greg here from My Weight Loss Life and Todd from the Carnivore Cure. So today is the start of Labor Day weekend, and we thought that we would kind of get started today with talking a little bit about the weekend. How the holiday weekend, there's always going to be like different parties and, family and friends gathering and so forth. And, how do you navigate that while staying on your diet, whether it's the carnivore diet or it is a keto or ketovore or whatever, right? So I figured that we would start with that, and I'm gonna put a little thing out here in the chat. I hope this goes to all the channels. I'm not sure if it will. But basically, if anybody's out there, go ahead and say hi. Let us know where you're from. If you have any questions for us, put a Q in the front of the question so that it's easier to see. And so, Greg, I'm gonna start with you here. Why don't you give us a little insight on how you like to stay on track during big holiday weekends like this when there's gonna be a lot of gatherings and so forth.
Yeah, sounds good. Hey, I just want to wish everybody a happy Labor Day weekend. I hope you have a good time and make good decisions and have some fun and make some good memories. That's what it's all about. But I was going to say, when it comes to food, chances are if there's a gathering you got going on this weekend, those can be very difficult because a lot of times there's very appealing food there, desserts, drinks. It's pretty easy to fall off the rails on that type of holiday weekend. And I think it's important to have a game plan going into it and know that, yeah, you're going to be tempted. There's going to be food in front of you that you probably shouldn't eat or it'll hurt you. And I think if you have planned it accordingly and, if you're not hosting the party, that's when it gets a little more difficult because the place you go may not have any, carnivore, low carb type foods. So, you have to have a plan. Well, do I need to bring something with? So I did a show the other night and someone brought the idea of purse bacon and I thought that was a good idea. Have something available to you to eat and munch on if you need it. You can always leave it in the cooler in the car and then maybe you won't need it. No big deal. But if you bring it with, just make a trip out, grab what you need and try to eat accordingly, or avoid eating or go to eat before you go to the party. I mean, that's probably the best bet because you aren't going to be hungry. You aren't going to be as tempted to grab something that maybe doesn't fit with your diet. I think that's something that you can do to help with that. But I think the key is to understand that it could be, very tempted. So you just have to not lose focus on what you're trying to do.
All right, and Todd, why don't you tell us your thoughts here on the weekend?
Yeah, totally. Well, Greg brought up a bunch of good points that I'd say, I'd reconfirm too, is like, just mainly it's just making a plan. So like if I was going to say the same thing too, if it's easier to control if you're hosting your party, if you're hosting it, then you can plan the menu. So that makes it a lot easier. But also, if it doesn't, I mean, you pretty much know where you're going and you pretty much have an idea what you're doing. So, if you're going to a friend's house and you're, going to have a cookout or something, then there's, nothing stopping you from, bringing your own, like if they're having a certain menu, bring your own steak with you or bring in your own whatever and have them throw it on the grill. I'm sure they won't mind, And then if nothing else, if you can't eat before you go, just eat before you go, bring some jerky with you, whatever, just kind of make a game plan. And then I always, a lot of people talk about, they're going to have a cheat meal or whatever. I don't even like that mindset. Not that you got to be so rigid, but anymore, I don't like thinking about the old foods and the old addictions like they're a treat, because in my mind, they're poison. They're killing me. So in order to change that, I treat myself within my new parameters, like today I just made a list and put together an order and I'm just getting some nice ribeyes for the weekend, some food that I don't get to partake in every week because it's just a little bit too pricey, so I'm just, I got some nice prime ribeyes. I got some lamb chops and some rack of lamb and stuff. And so I'm just going to live it up keto or carnivore this weekend. You know what I mean? And have some nice cuts of meat and really enjoy what I'm doing. Then that's still a treat. But to me, it's more of a treat in my mind. I just don't like the stigma of still allowing myself to think about sugar and stuff as a cheat day where I'm going to treat myself. Because it's really just hurting myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. And that's a very good point, I think, too, about, the not having that mentality of doing a cheat day or whatever, right? Um, because that's something that I know I struggle with. I'll say like, okay, it's okay this one time, I'm gonna have whatever it is that's there and I'll be fine. But in reality, I'm never fine after that. It takes me usually a couple of days of eating badly, here and there, and until I'm at the point like, okay, what am I doing? I got to get past this, right? Now I got the sugar cravings again and so forth. So yeah, the cheat day never really works for me. Like some people can do that. They'll just be like, I'll just eat something bad today and I'm fine. And they go on and they're fine. I can't do that for some reason. I don't know why, but it never works for me.
Well, no, and I totally get it, and I'm not coming from a judgmental place either. It's just it's a mindset that I've had to take on because I fell for that cheat day trap so many times in the past that it kept me in a bad spot. You know what I mean? Like it just kept wrecking me. Where now, you know, just I guess because I was, so severely sick by my diet before that now I no longer let myself think about, oh, I'm going to treat myself with a cheat day today because it's like saying, hey, I'm going to treat myself and I'm going to poison myself today and be sick for the next 5 days and possibly jeopardize, my future and my health. And so I just realized that I was thinking about that all wrong. And so, when I woke up today and I was like, all right, I'm going to do something fun for, the weekend. I was just like, I'm going to get some really nice ribeyes, some prime ribeyes, go to a nice meat shop, get some prime ribeyes, I like lamb, but I don't eat it very often. Not even because it's not terrible expensive. It's just something that's a little harder to get where I'm at. So I went out of my way to find some lamb and I just made a nice menu for the weekend that's I'm gonna eat and enjoy, but also feel good. But it's gonna be a treat because it's something that I haven't had in 7 months. You know what I mean?
I think that
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense, treat it as a treat, eat something that you normally don't eat, but yet it falls in your diet parameters on what you can eat. I think that's a great idea. That way it is a special occasion. So it
It is.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, definitely. So, I see that we've got a few people watching the show already, so thanks. Go ahead and say hi and let us know what you're planning to do this weekend, what foods you're planning to eat. So, Todd, this is funny you were talking about lamb. I got some lamb for this weekend too. And I
Nice.
think probably Sunday, I think, or maybe Monday, I'm gonna, smoke it and so forth. But yeah, that's one of the big things I'm doing this weekend is the lamb.
That's
Um,
awesome.
so it's interesting for me this weekend because I don't actually have anything planned like with a gathering with people or going to anybody's house or anything. So I don't quite have the same as I typically have had in the past. Like 4th of July, I went out um to a friend's house and it was nice because they actually um they knew that I'm carnivore and they made sure that they had plenty of meat for me and so forth. So that was pretty cool. Um and so that worked out well, but, I don't have anything planned this weekend, this time. So, um, for me, yeah, that there's not a whole lot to, worry about this time. In the past, I've had more to worry about, and outside of that one, um, that I just talked about, there were other ones where I made sure that I ate before I went there because I wasn't sure what they were gonna have there and so forth, and that
Yeah.
always works well for me. Like Todd, I think Todd, it was either you or Greg had mentioned, the bacon is always a good thing to take with you. Um, Another thing is if you're not sure what kind of drink they're gonna have, you might wanna bring a couple bottles of water or something, because you just never know, especially if you're not the type of person that drinks a lot of alcohol or anything. A lot of those parties, they'll have alcohol there, and they might not have much of anything else. So you might wanna make sure you bring some water bottles with you,
Oh, great.
because I definitely ran into that before, so
I was going to say too, maybe a little pro tip, because I started thinking about this when you brought up 4th of July, because that's a huge holiday for me and my family. But I was thinking, I didn't have a problem at all, because I converted my brother to carnivore, and I converted my sister to carnivore, and my mom to
Hmm.
carnivore. And so I started thinking, that's kind of easier, because the carnivore menu is getting a lot larger in my family circle. So maybe convert your loved ones,
yeah,
and
that
I can
makes it
help you
easier.
out. Yeah.
That definitely makes it easier. So I wanna say hey to JP, he's out there, and he
Hey,
says he's from
JP.
East Tennessee.
Nice.
Um, I go back up here to Carnivore Backwoods, and he is also from Tennessee, so that's pretty cool. We got a couple of people here from Tennessee. So
Right
hello to
on.
both of you. Be interested to see what you guys are doing this weekend, for the holiday, if you're gonna have any parties or whatever. So Greg, let's go over to you. Do you have anything planned for this weekend?
My daughter and future son-in-law are going to be home this weekend, and I think my son may come home Sunday. We normally have a barbecue planned, but there is none planned. However, tomorrow, we had a rummage sale today at my house, and tomorrow we're having it from like 9 to noon. And I decided I've got a pork butt that I'm going to smoke it. I'm going to smoke it tomorrow. Not sure if it'll get ate tomorrow, and that's okay. But at least I'll have it done, and I can eat it sometime this weekend with family when they're over. And they can eat the pulled pork sandwiches, and I'll just pile on the meat on the plate and eat it and enjoy it. So
For sure.
Mm. Yeah. And Todd, what about you? Anything planned?
No, I'm gonna be cooking for
Just the
me and my
ribeye?
mom some lamb, but then I got a nice 3-day weekend off from my day job, so I'm planning on making a bunch of content. I'm new at this YouTube and stuff. And I need to get ahead of the curve, because I always feel behind on making videos. So I got a lot of videos to make.
All right. So that's a great segue here. Let's switch things up a little bit. And Todd, let's talk about your journey.
Yeah.
Um, this is an amazing journey you've had so far. So you're right around 11 months, right? Not quite a
Yeah.
year. All
Yeah,
right. So
just
in
after
11
11.
months, and I'm going to share a picture. And this isn't even from when you started, but this is a comparison for everybody to see. So let me get that up here. So you had already lost some weight at this point, but look at this difference. The picture on the left, I think you had said what you lost about probably 50 pounds maybe at that point
I'd
at
been
that picture.
at that point, I was about 65 to 70 pounds lighter from my heaviest.
All right. And so it's amazing. Over 200 pounds. I think it was like 225 pounds in 11 months. You can see the side by side here again is just amazing. But why don't you tell us a little bit about how you found carnivore and how this has gone for you?
Yeah, absolutely. It was kind of funny. I'd never heard of carnivore before in my life. I was always a big kid, and I'd been on a million different, calorie restrictive and doctor approved and dietitian approved, portion control and calorie in, calorie out restrictive diets and all that, balanced nonsense that works for nobody ever, consistently. But I'd been on those, since I was an early teenager, because from the time I was born, I was huge. I was always big. I don't know, I was a couple hundred pounds like when I was 6 or 7 by the time I think I was 500 pounds by the time I was like 11, and I was 600 pounds by the time I was 14. And I was just huge all the time. And so I was just fighting it. And I just went on a million. I'd always start with a calorie restrictive diet and tracking my macros and all this stuff. And it would never work. I was always hungry, and so I'd always just go into a full-on starvation diet type of thing. That was kind of my thing. Would just be it was I actually, and now I know it even makes sense, but I always found it easier to not eat than to eat portion controlled. And now I know that's because I was on the insulin roller coaster all the time, and I was always fighting some severe insulin resistance that I just didn't know I had, and that's why it was actually always easier to not eat than eat small, portions of, complex carbohydrates and low fat and all that nonsense. It was either easier just to be in a fasted state of autophagy, because at least you go into a fasted state of ketosis, which I didn't even know that back then. But instinctually, that's what I'd always end up doing, is just going on a starvation diet. My biggest one was when I was 24. I ate twice a week, and each time it'd be 1,000 calories or less. And I did that for 17 months, and I got down to 337 pounds was the lowest I could get, and I hit a wall. And I got married right about then, and I thought, all right, well, my wife's going to cook this doctor-approved, balanced, healthy, standard American diet, and I'll be able to keep this off. And yeah, everything went off the rails as soon as I started eating again. I gained all that weight back in like 9 or 10 months plus, and I was more sick and more miserable. And the whole time I was not eating, I was also tired and had crippling depression and anxiety, and life was so miserable. Even much lighter, it was miserable. I was sick. I look at my face now, even compared to back then, and my face is so much healthier now. The carnivore diet just heals you, like you're just so much more vitality in life. It's crazy. But after I went through that last round of losing a bunch of weight and gaining it back, I was a lot sicker. And I was always, since I was 18, I was fighting some lung problem that the doctors really didn't know what it was. They finally just they said it wasn't the perfect diagnosis, but they believed that I had something or something along the line of reactive airway disease. But I could never breathe. I was always having asthma attacks. I would get bronchitis or pneumonia, one or the other, every winter through every cold and flu season. It would last for months. I was always sick. And so it was about that time, and I think it was 2000. I'd suffered some tragedies in 2017. My wife had left a little bit before that. Then my dad and brother both passed away about 11 days apart from each other. I was real depressed, like life was terrible. I was not feeling good at all. I was probably at the time around 650 to 680 pounds, pretty heavy, pretty sick, and I couldn't breathe. And I'd just done a stint in the ICU for 3 days at that time, because I had to be on 12 liters of oxygen because my lungs wouldn't snap out of it. And so when I got out of the hospital, I decided I had to do something in it, and I was hopelessly addicted to sodas, carbonated, sugary drinks. I was terribly addicted to them. And so I decided to give up drinking any calories. I just wanted to start there. And because I noticed that on the days that I didn't drink as much soda, my lungs felt a little bit better, and I was less inflamed, less congested. So I took on kicking the soda habit, which was the biggest addiction that I had for sure. And I was partially successful with that, but I still had to drink diet sodas and stuff, and to kind of curb the addiction a little bit. And those weren't a ton better, but it was helping me out a little bit with my lungs. And so I kept that going for probably close to a year. And then my brother was doing a weightlifter diet at the time. He'd been reading some books by Frank Zane, the old time famous bodybuilder. And so I was looking for something to do to get healthier. And he suggested doing a weightlifter diet, high protein, low fat, moderate carbohydrates. And so I started doing that diet and basically I just mapped it out. And I'm a guy that I try to keep things simple because I know the more complicated I make things, the less likely I am to stick to them. So I just came up with a breakfast in the morning that was usually breakfast turkey sausage because it was low fat, and egg whites. And I'd make like a egg white turkey sausage scramble in the morning, and then at night I would eat chicken breast, skinless grilled chicken breasts, and I would eat brown rice, and sometimes I'd cook some egg whites in it or whatever. But it was just a miserable, bland, tasteless, terrible diet, and I kept that up for 14 months, but I had never felt more tired. I had no energy. I was just miserable all the time, and my depression and anxiety was through the roof. I mean, I was through that time with everything that was going on between, being divorced and dad and my brother Ty passing away, and it was just a real miserable time. Yeah, I was just suicidally depressed. I mean, it was terrible. It was the worst time. And I was trying to stick to this weightlifter diet, and I was so depressed. I was like, after 14 months, I'd only lost 37 pounds from starving on this stupid thing. I'd been hungry nonstop for 14 months. I was miserable. I had no energy. Couldn't wake up in the morning. I was just dragging. I just looked gray and pale and dead, And so I knew I was about to fall off the wagon. I couldn't keep it going anymore. So I decided that I needed all the chicken that I was cooking was terrible. It was so dried out and tasteless and painful to eat. I was trying to learn how to make chicken better because I thought in my mind, if I could make this chicken taste a little bit better, I could stick with it for longer. And I looked up online how to make what the best way to cook meats and protein is to keep it from being dry. And an article came up about sous vide cooking proteins, that the best way to cook a protein is sous vide. And so I started kind of diving into that to see what sous vide cooking was, and I found this channel on YouTube. Shout out to Guga. It's called Sous Vide Everything, and I started watching his channel, and he has a tendency to always cook, picanha steaks and ribeye steaks sous vide, and then he always sears them in butter. And so I was so miserably hungry from being on this diet for 14 months. I was watching these videos of them cooking these delicious ribeyes seared in butter over and over and over again. And so I ordered this sous vide machine to cook my meat in. And as it was being shipped, I was like, before I go back to chicken, I'm going to sous vide one ribeye. I'm going to have just one ribeye like Guga and Sous Vide Everything makes. And that looks so good. It was just stuck in my head. And of course, being the food addict that I am, I went to the store and I told myself I was only going to eat one ribeye, but I bought a pack of 4 ribeyes. So I was already lying to myself. And so I got those ribeyes home in my new sous vide machine, and I was trying to do the best I can to not go off the rails. So I kind of added up the macros, and I was like, if I don't eat twice a day and I just eat this ribeye and I just eat once, and I don't add anything else with it, none of the rice or anything, and I cut out all the carbs, the calories will at least, the daily calories will at least be pretty close to the same, and I could have this ribeye. So I make that ribeye and I eat it, and it's this fatty ribeye and butter. And immediately I felt so much better. And I just thought that it was a mental break from the chicken and the terrible stuff. It tasted so good. I thought I was probably just stimulating my endorphins or something from having a break from that terrible dry chicken and turkey sausage and egg whites and blandless. And, that was a low salt diet too. So I wasn't eating salt. I mean, it was just the worst diet ever. But I felt great eating this ribeye. And so, of course, I did that for 3 more days. I had 4 days of just ribeyes where I only ate once a day. So I was fasting by accident, and I was eating high fat, protein. And at the end of 4 days, I felt so much better. Like my depression was like 60% gone. My mind was so much better. My energy level was better. And I started pushing water off my body. All of a sudden I was peeing like crazy. And in that 4 days, I lost 13 pounds, which obviously I knew was fluid, but it was still 13 pounds in 4 days compared to 37 pounds in 14 months of being miserable. And I felt so much better, just mentally, just happy. I was sleeping better. I had energy, and I didn't know what was going on. And so I Googled it. I was like, I'm eating ribeyes and butter and I feel fantastic. Why? And it brought up keto. And I never heard of a ketogenic diet before, and it brought up keto. And so I was all in on that. I was like, I know that there's something here because I accidentally did it and it feels great. And as I started studying, I realized I got myself accidentally, I fell into ketosis, and my mind was working better because all the fat, and my hormones were getting balanced and my insulin levels were low, So that was great. But then, unfortunately, as the keto world is, I got into researching keto and I got sucked into kind of the dirty liberal side of keto, where you can have all your favorite junk foods, but you can make them keto-esque, and all of a sudden now you can eat just like you were before, but you can make keto everything. So you can have almond flours and sucralose and xanthan, or what is it, xylitol or whatever, all these fake sweeteners and cooking stuff and chaffles and keto pizza. And I wish I would have been smart enough to realize that it was the meat and the butter that was doing it for me. But I got off the rails because I thought, oh, now I can eat more like I used to eat, but I can do it all keto and it's going to be fine. And I was a bit better because I was keeping pretty low carb, but man, I was keeping all the carb addiction and sugar addiction alive by messing around with all that processed keto food, and keto, I was getting like those Quest and Atkins and Slim Fast fat bombs and stuff, and all that processed garbage. And I thought I was doing keto, but I wasn't, not really. And so I came off the rails and then I went back on keto again, and I was losing weight, gaining weight, but still I was having better progress by far than that dang high protein, low fat diet. But it was miserable. That diet was so miserable. At least I felt better, but I was yo-yoing on this keto thing because I didn't know what I was doing. I was still keeping old carb cravings alive. And right about that time, I was starting to do more research because I was starting to figure out that I'm missing something here. Something's wrong. I'm doing something dumb. And read the book. I think it's called The Diabetes Code by Jason Fung, who talks about insulin resistance. And that book, I believe it's very accurate about insulin resistance, but it struck a chord with me, especially on, I always wondered why I was so big when I was so young. Because I'm the youngest of 6 kids, and I looked at my siblings, and my oldest 2 brothers are skinny. And then as mom kept having kids, the kids kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I was the grand prize, I guess, at the end. I was a pretty big kid, And in that book, it talks about your fasted insulin set point, that the higher your fasted insulin is, that's like a thermostat for your body that's going to basically tell your body how big it has to be, how much body mass you have to have based off of that high insulin at your fasted insulin levels. And one of the things you can do, the best thing you can do if you're insulin resistant, to lower your fasted insulin levels, is to fast and keep your insulin as low as possible for as long as possible. So I'd also I'd read an article about this guy. It's a pretty famous article. I think it was back like in the 50s or 60s, but this guy fasted for like 400 and some odd days and lost like 300 and some odd pounds. and he just took supplements and he fasted for a very long time. And so I took that to heart, and I decided I wanted to do a 40-day water fast. And so I got 21 days into that. I was made it to 21 days on the water fast, and I got super sick, and I couldn't breathe. I just couldn't get any air, and I felt like I was in a continuous asthma attack. And what had ended up happening was I wasn't taking any supplements or electrolytes or anything when I was on that fast. And because I was drinking so much water to kind of just have something in my stomach, I was moving a lot of water through my body, and I had washed all the electrolytes away, and I had gotten like dangerously low on potassium. And as it would turn out, when your potassium gets super low, it does something to your blood plasma where I guess potassium is very important for your blood plasma to hold red blood cell platelets in it. So my red blood cells got really low, and my immune system was really compromised from having low red blood cells. And so I was taking potassium and getting my red blood cell count back up, my potassium, and I caught COVID right then. That was in 2021. And I caught COVID real bad. And unfortunately, a friend of mine had caught COVID 1 week earlier prior to that. And at the very time, pretty much that 2 days when I found out that I had COVID and it was getting real bad, my friend had to go to the hospital, and he was same age as me, super healthy, avid hunter, hiker, just super healthy guy. And he was in the hospital, and they gave him a treatment that I didn't agree with, but they put him on a respirator, and he passed away while he was in the hospital about 12 hours after he got put on the respirator. And so after that happened, that just hit super hard, and there was just no way I was going into the hospital. So my sister and my brother-in-law had been really watching videos on how to treat yourself for COVID at home, and they helped me with a ivermectin protocol at home and using nebulizers and kind of naturopathic remedies to clear it up. And so I was just sick as a dog for about, I don't know, 15 to 20 days. I know I had a fever for, it was like 12 or 13 days. I was coughing up blood and all this terrible stuff. And I was on the edge of death that whole time. I never been sicker. And I did eventually get over it, but unfortunately it caused some damage. It scarred my lungs real bad. And I ended up having congestive heart failure from it. And so when I came through the other side, in about a 3-week period, I gained 84 pounds of fluid. My body was swelling up because my lungs were compromised and I had congestive heart failure. So fluid was just packing up on me, and I just ballooned up like a water balloon. And I was still didn't have much confidence in going to the hospital. I felt like the way the protocols were at the time that it could be, a death sentence for me. So I stayed out of there, and I tried to treat it at home. I was doing certain things and taking certain naturopathic remedies that were supposed to help get fluid off you, and was trying not to drink very much, but I just was so sick I couldn't move. I was already pretty much stuck in a chair. Now I couldn't even stand. Like, it was a terrible problem just to get to the bathroom. And I worked for a long time to get that fluid off. It was like 4 or 5, 6 months, something like that. And I was getting the fluid off slowly, but it was miserable. I wasn't eating right. I wasn't eating much at all, really, because I was so sick. But I didn't have the energy to even get the right foods, and I didn't have the mental energy to even think about keto or anything anymore. I was just trying to survive at the time. And then one morning, I was having this problem. I was sleeping in a chair because I couldn't lay down, because if I laid down, I'd stop breathing. And so I was sitting up in a recliner. And one morning I was getting used to, I kept waking up in that recliner. That's been happening for months, and I'd had these terrible headaches, and I'd be confused and dizzy, and it was apparent to me that I had stopped breathing in my sleep, and I woke up to take a breath like I had sleep apnea or something. And that kept happening, but after about 6 months, that happened really bad. And I had a pulse ox, and I would always take my oxygen levels to see if my oxygen was getting too low. And I mean, at that time, my oxygen was like the low 80s to high 70s at that point, all the time. But this one day I woke up and I was so confused I didn't know where I was. I had the worst headache I'd ever had in my life, and something was really wrong. Something was off. And I took my oxygen, put that pulse ox on my finger. My oxygen was down to like 62, and it had just tanked, and that was deathly low. So I had no choice. I had to go to the hospital, and I went to the hospital, and they put me on oxygen, and they put me on Lasix and started getting, a bunch of fluid off me. And I think they got 64 pounds of fluid off me in 10 or 11 days that I was in there. And then they sent me home with an oxygen concentrator, and I was stuck on oxygen from that point 24/7, and was working on getting the fluid off, taking fluid pills and on oxygen. But that was a blessing, because at least with the oxygen, my brain started working a little bit better, and I wasn't so foggy and confused that I could concentrate on getting back on, keto and stuff. And so that was finally where it turned around on September 29th of 2022. I was on basically ketovore. It was carnivore, but I was eating green cruciferous vegetables and olive oil, and I was eating spices and black olives. But mainly what I was doing is I started making taco salads. So I was using get cruciferous vegetables, a spring mix that was organic, and I would make a taco salad. And I started doing that, but I started checking my ketones again with a blood meter, and I couldn't get into ketosis like I wanted to. I kept doing that, so I was getting real serious about it. So I started cutting out. First I cut out the cheese, because I wasn't sure if cheese was slowing it down. So I got rid of the cheese, got rid of the hot sauce. Then I got rid of the taco seasoning and stuff, and I got rid of the black olives. So pretty soon it was just a salad with hamburger on it. And I was like, I really don't like salad. So I picked January 1st. I said on January 1st, I'm going full carnivore. And so I did. On January 1st of 2023, I was full carnivore. And the one thing that I did, I was still, at that time when I was doing ketovore, I was drinking diet sodas still, and things with fake sugars in it. And I decided to get off all of those too. So I got off on January 1st. I got off all the diet sodas, all the diet drinks, and I follow a guy on YouTube called Dr. Berg, who I find very, very helpful. He's a ketogenic guy, but he had an idea about taking volcanic lemon juice and mixing it with sparkling mineral water, and then adding electrolytes in it and making like a sparkling lemonade. So I did that for 6 or 7 weeks. And between doing that, taking some supplements that he recommended, Dr. Berg supplements, and only doing carnivore, and at that time, slowly in that period, I'd even quit doing any seasoning at all, like even garlic powder or garlic salt or black pepper. I completely kicked all the seasonings to where I was just having pink salt or Celtic salt. And so I basically had gotten onto BBB&E and salt. And the only other caveat to that was a recommendation of Dr. Berg, which was to eat a can of cod livers every day for the omega-3s. And so that's all that I was on, and that's still all that I'm on today. I did add in some xanthan gum I could go into later for a reason, but that's it. And that's all I've been doing. And man, that changed everything. By doing that lemonade, that sparkling lemonade, it killed whatever that combination was between carnivore and drinking that sparkling lemonade. It killed every craving for every carb I'd ever had. I had never craved any carbohydrates or sugar. I have zero, like it's so freeing that I have zero worry that I'm ever going to fall off the wagon because I am so free from any of those old addictions. I just don't crave it. I mean, at the time, my mom was still eating. You know, when my dad and brother died, I moved in with my mom because she had never been alone. And for the first time, you know, in 74 years, my mom was alone and she has the beginning stages of dementia and she's got a brain tumor and stuff. And so her health's not great. And so, being that I'd recently gotten divorced, I moved in with my mom at the time to take care of her. And I'm still doing that, but she was, you know, eating bad stuff. She like, you know, she's sugar addict, so she's eating donuts and all this stuff at the time. And yeah, that used to be really tough. And now, you know, she doesn't eat anymore because she's on carnivore. But even just 4 months ago or so, she was still eating that stuff. And she got mad at me because I'd go in the kitchen, and now instead of being tempted to eat donuts, that make me so mad because in my mind I'm just looking at them and this is poison that's killing my mom. So I'd go in there, grab it all up, and throw it in the dumpster every time, and then I'd put a stew on. And when she'd wake up, she'd want her donut, and I'd give her some stew that I just made, carnivore stew. You know, I'm like, no, we're not doing that anymore. It's killing you. You know, but it's just that's where I'm at now, and you know, I was on the fence. I knew that I wanted to tell everybody, and I started with my family, you know, how, you know, this isn't a diet, it's a cure. That's why I called my channel the Carnivore Cured, or the cure, Carnivore Cure, because I am cured. You know, I really feel that I had a disease and I am cured, you know. I've never been more certain of anything in my life. I don't, you know, I say this all the time, but all those diets that I was on when I was young, you know, I would go to bed hungry. I'd go to bed dreaming about food, and I'd wake up praying that today wasn't the day that I was going to fall off the wagon. And, you know, I was praying for a miracle that somehow these cravings would go away, but the cravings that were there every day. I mean, it was just this giant monkey on your back where every day, no matter how much you were fighting it, no matter how long you did it, you'd wake up and you would know that it's just a matter of time before this, you know, you go off the rails and this thing snowballs and you're going to be in a worse position than you were before. You're just going to lose it. And I'd been doing that for 20 years, you know, 20 plus years. And now I don't worry about a dang thing. I don't go to bed hungry. I'm never hungry. I don't wake up with any cravings. I never crave any. Well, I was going to say, oddly enough, I only have one craving, and I don't know why I had this craving. It has nothing to do with sugar or carbohydrates. The only thing that I crave is pickled jalapenos. I crave those sometimes. I don't know why, but I do. I actually think it's because my body craves fermented or foods or vinegar, because I think vinegar helps them emulsify and process fat. And I think on the days that I have a lot of animal fat, I think my body's craving something to help process the fat and break it down. I think that's why it craves it. But yeah, that's the only craving I ever even pops into my head is for pickled jalapenos now. I don't exactly know why. But I don't wake up anymore going, is this the day I'm going to fall off carnivore? I wake up and I'm like, man, I wonder how much stronger I got today. Because it feels like every day that I get up, I could find out that I can do something that I can't remember the last time I could do. My mind works better every day. My moods, the depression and anxiety is completely gone. I have zero, and I mean zero depression and anxiety. I am so happy all the time, and I'm so full of life all the time. My mind works so well. My congestive heart failure is gone. As you can see, I'm completely off the oxygen. I sleep like a baby now. In fact, I wake up early, you know. Oh, and this is another thing. Also, during that time, I took my dad's sleep apnea machine and reprogrammed it, and I started using that, and that also helped me sleep and breathe better at night. But now I sleep like a baby. I don't have any worries. I have more energy than I've ever had in my life. My oxygen was only 88% saturation when I was 18 years old, and it's been that or worse my whole life. Now it's 96%. It's amazing. My oxygen is perfect. My lungs work great. My eyesight got better. My mood is fantastic. I have so much more energy. I sleep so much better. It is a cure. It is not a diet. It's not a fad, anything. It is the proper human diet. It is the answer to what's killing, like 74% of Americans. It's the answer. It is the cure, you know?
Yeah. Now, I want to go back. So you had already told Greg and I this, but I want everybody else to hear this. How much did you weigh before you started carnivore?
715 pounds is what I estimated. So when I came up with that number, because the honest truth is I had to lose weight. When I got on ketovore and on September 29th, I had to lose weight for about 3.5 or 4 months before I could even stand on the scale. I got this really big, wide scale that goes up to 770 pounds, but because of the lymphedema and the fluid I had on me, my calves were each 35 inches in diameter. So my legs were so wide, I couldn't get both of my feet on that scale at the same time. And so finally, when I'd lost enough weight that I could stand on that scale, I was 647 pounds. And I'd already been doing it like 4 months. So what I did is I tracked my weight for the next 4 or 5 months. And then I took that 4 or 5 month average and went back for those 4 months that I couldn't weigh. And that put me at 715 pounds, just taking that average. But the reality of it is I probably lost more weight because I had more fluid coming off. I could have been well above that, because you know how much faster weight comes off in the first 2 or 3 months and the fluid comes off. So it's, in my mind, it's a minimum of 715 pounds, but it could have been 750. I really don't know at that time where the weight was, because I couldn't get on the scale. Not only could I not stand long enough to be on the scale, I couldn't get both my feet on the scale. It was pretty funny when I was somewhere in there about month 2, I was trying really hard to get on that scale. And I finally almost had both feet on it, and the digital readout cracked on that scale. And I was like, Big T, I think it's time for an intervention when you're blowing up the 770 pound scale. I think some things have gone off the rail.
All right. So over 700 pounds. And what do you weigh today?
I haven't checked in. I haven't checked in a few weeks, but I'm sure I'm below 490.
Below 490 in 11 months. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I just got to applaud that right
Definitely.
now.
I appreciate it so much, man. But it is a true blessing from God. I can't explain it enough. It is nothing short of a miraculous miracle for me. I didn't think I was making it out of this. I didn't see a path out of this. I honestly didn't. This was a Hail Mary last ditch effort. It was just something to try, because I knew nothing else. And I've never, there's nothing, even at 490 or a little bit lower, I've weighed less than this, but I've never been this healthy. I've never been this healthy in my adult life ever. It's incredible.
So we have a comment here from Laura about Bill Knott in Alaska. And I believe you've actually talked to him, right? You reached out to him?
I did. I haven't. He commented on my video. Bill Knott is the reason why I'm doing this channel. Is because when I was watching Homestead How and heard Carrie bring up Bill Knott's comment to his video that kicked everything off for Bill, that hit so close to home. It was crazy, because at the time it was only 10 months earlier that I was exactly in Bill Knott's spot, and I had gone on his channel at the time when Bill started making videos, and I'm pretty new to YouTube and all this stuff, but I went to his channel and went to his About tab in his channel, and I couldn't find his email, because I was wanting to email him. And I'd been on the fence a long time about making a YouTube channel or making videos. I wanted to tell people about this because it's an absolute life-changing miracle. But I've hated cameras. I've avoided cameras. I hated being confronted with my weight and stuff and pictures. And so the idea of being on camera just was pretty anxiety driving concept. But I just saw Bill, and then Bill started making videos, and I'm like, I've got to let this guy know that this is, because in my mind I was thinking, man, what's Bill going to be going through? What's he going to be thinking? What's he going to be feeling? And I just wanted him to I want him to get to the point where he has that breakthrough where the carb cravings go away, because just before I had that breakthrough, in your mind, you're going, is this just another fad diet? Is this just another thing that I'm going to fail? You know what I mean? Is this another thing that to me, it was just another diet that I was scared to get excited about, because everything always ends up breaking down and not working. And you get tired of that. And I just, where I'm standing now, I just wanted Bill to know that, man, this is not like any of those other things. Like, throw that out the window. This is not another try like all the old tries. This is something totally different, because this is a cure. Your efforts will be greatly rewarded, and you will feel better and stronger every day. And you can get over because obviously guys like me and Bill, everybody's got their problems and their health problems. And I mean, it's the obesity in America is an absolute pandemic. Our food environment's an absolute dumpster fire. Our medical system, when it comes to diet and disease, is terrible. And so this is a pandemic for everybody. I don't care if you're 40 pounds overweight or 400, but I think that it's a little bit different when you get to 6, 7, 800 pounds. I think you have some extra metabolic hurdles to overcome, and that's just, there's not a lot of content out there about that kind of area. And I just wanted Bill to see it. I wanted him to know, to not get discouraged or to lose faith that if he keeps going, he will be greatly rewarded and his life will change on the carnivore diet. It's not like anything else.
And I'm going to put this up here that Cindy said Bill's going to have a story this great as well. Totally
Oh,
agree.
absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm sure you're a huge inspiration to Bill, and I'm glad that you were able to talk to him.
Yeah. And I'm hoping to talk to him more in the future. I haven't looked yet, but I hear that he's got an email, and that was one of my things I was going to do on this weekend, was send him an email and kind of tell him some things that I think helped me through the worst parts of it,
Yeah. So I want to go back to a couple of comments here really quick. Susan, I didn't want to miss this. You had mentioned that you subscribe to all three of us, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's great. And then JP, this was when you were talking earlier about the lemon juice. So he says, was it lemon juice and seltzer water? And what?
Yeah, so the exact thing that I did was, I think it's which is kind of sad, but I think Coca-Cola owns this brand, but it's called Bubbly. It's like a seltzer water, but it doesn't have any sugar or aspartame or anything in it. And it was lime flavored Bubbly that's got just a little bit of like lime oil or extract in it, and it's very subtle taste of lime. But I used a lime Bubbly, and I used it's called organic volcanic lemon juice. So it comes from, you order it online. In fact, a grocery store, Rosario's here in town, has it on their shelf. But it's lemons that are grown in volcanic ash in Italy, and they squeeze it. And for Dr. Berg recommended that lemon juice because it's really nutriently dense lemon juice, and I like it because it just tastes more like lemon than any kind of lemon I've ever had in my life. That lemon juice is crazy good. But I would order that, and I put it in. I would do 4 cans of the 4 12-ounce cans of the Bubbly, and I would do a third bottle, and the bottles are, I think, 33 ounces. I would do basically 11 ounces of the lemon juice, and then I would use Dr. Berg's electrolyte. He's got a lemon electrolyte powder, and I do like 4 scoops of that. And his electrolyte powder has a little liquid stevia in it, but not much. And then if you have to, you can add some. At first, I was adding some extra liquid stevia, pure liquid stevia drops in it, but then I got away from that because my taste started getting adapted to it. But that honest to God freed me from soda addiction. I couldn't believe it.
And I want to share this side by side again, really quick for anybody that's new in the chat. And again, this was after Todd had already lost some weight on the left, and here he is on the right. So this was probably, instead of 11 months, this was probably what, around 8 months or so? Is
Yeah,
that
eight
right?
or 9 months. Yeah, about 8 or 9 months. This was when I realized something awesome was happening. I might want to start getting some pictures. I realized that I was feeling better. You can even start to see a little bit of a smile on that swollen face of mine. I was starting to realize that, man, I'm starting to feel great, and my fluid was coming off, and I was like, this is really working. And so I snapped that picture that day because I was like, you can't really see it, but I'm sitting in that chair that I was basically spent most of my time in for 2.5 years, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's just incredible. And what's even probably more incredible than the weight is that you talked about the depression and anxiety, and it's completely gone.
Gone. I don't have a trace of it. And I can't tell you how the anxiety was crippling at work. I'm a manager and electrical designer at an electrical contracting company, and I'd have all this work on my desk, and I couldn't focus on any of it. I couldn't figure out what to do next. You know, my brother owns the company, so he was really supporting. You know, he had my back through this whole time. He knew how sick I was, and so, you know, what you can't see is my workstation was there, and 4 feet away from it was that chair that I was in. And so I would slide my desk over to my recliner and try to work from there just to be of help, you know, and to be useful. And yeah, I mean, the anxiety was so bad. I'd have all these things that I'd need to try to focus on, and I couldn't focus on any of them. The anxiety was just like crippling every day. I mean, it was just terrible, and the depression would come in. I mean, one of the things, I got a lot of videos I'd like to make about topics, but one of the things that was absolutely crazy to me was that when the anxiety was lifting and the depression was going away, I would see things clear and be super hopeful, you know? And I had a game plan, and I could start making plans for the future, and I had things that I wanted to try, and I could research things. But then all of a sudden it would come back on, and it was so thick and so heavy that I would go, man, this is a lie. This isn't going to work. There's no way you can keep this up. You're going to fail. It's terrible. And I didn't see a way through it. It was so convincing. I started making myself notes when it would lift and my brain was working right. I'd make notes, and then later when it would come back on, I would read those notes, and it was like I could remember writing them, but it was so thick and so heavy that it was like I could remember writing them, and I'm reading my own words to myself to remind me that this is just a chemical thing in my brain at the time, and I needed to not pay attention to it and to keep up. You know, I was basically writing my future self that I knew was going to have some relapses of anxiety and depression, notes on how to get through this little thing, and that it was an illusion. It wasn't real. And I'd have to read those notes and remind myself of that, and then I'd bust through the other side, and then I'd remember how I felt when I was reading those notes. And it was the most crazy, surreal thing. And then finally it all went away, and I've never had that problem. I haven't had that problem in probably 8 months now, to be honest with you, 7 or 8 months. But at the time, and I'm just saying that because it is so, the brain, whatever happens to our chemicals in our brain at that time, it is so real. It'll actually change your perception of reality. And you know the truth, but you can't at that time in that really dark place. You can't almost make yourself believe it. It's incredible.
Hmm. All right. So we have a question, so I'm going to jump to that really quickly here. And Greg, since Todd's been doing most of the talking, Greg, I'm going to let you answer this question first. But
Uh,
have any of you tried the lion diet? And then this is from Crypto Carnivore, and he says, I've had unbelievable results, got to ideal weight after 6 months, and now adding other carnivore items back. Seems like adding anything slows weight loss before lion. So, Greg, have you actually done lion diet at any point?
No, I have not done any lion diet, and to be honest, for the most part, I've done mostly ketogenic diet. I have done some carnivore mixed in there. I have not went full carnivore yet. That's something I might look at in the future here. I've it's just what I've been doing has been working for me, and I just haven't pulled the trigger yet to just go full carnivore. But for those of you that don't know, I've lost 85 pounds in 7 months. Doing basically a keto diet and also doing carnivore. I'd alternate some carnivore in there. Probably people would say it's probably ketovore. They'd probably call it that because I usually eat less than 10 grams of carbs. So on days that I have carnivore, I'm less than 5 for sure. So that's kind of where I'm at. But no, I've not tried the lion diet, but I know several people have and have had a lot of success. And congratulations to you. I think that's pretty good that, 6 months you got there. And one thing I just wanted to add is, Todd was telling a story. I got to looking at the three of us, and between the three of us, we've lost almost 400 pounds.
Wow.
So that's pretty amazing when you think about it. It's like that's awesome. So congratulations, guys.
Yeah, that is great. So Todd, how about you? Have you tried doing just lion diet at any point?
So first of all, I haven't tried it to the T, but I think I'm actually, other than the eggs, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think other than the eggs, I'm technically kind of doing the lion diet, and I'm a huge fan of Michaela and Peterson and Jordan Peterson. Michaela Peterson is the one that named the lion diet, and I was actually watching. They were a huge inspiration too. I've been watching Jordan Peterson for like 6 years for his other content, and it was great to see him go through this. So, but I didn't have necessarily an autoimmune problem. I didn't think so. I didn't focus too much on that. And honestly, it was after I really started researching the lion diet after I was doing the BBB and E thing. So, but I think I'm kind of close to the lion diet because I'm near as I can tell, the lion diet's just water and meat. And I think the only thing that I'm eating on top of that is eggs, honestly. And I use xanthan. I was going to say I do use xanthan gum. I put a post up on my Instagram to see if anybody's ever had anybody else, any other carnivores or ketovores have any issues with xanthan gum. But I use it because when I make pot roast with beef broth, it helps bond the fat. Usually the fat floats on top of the beef broth, and I usually don't get a bunch of the fat. Where this way, it bonds the fat to the beef broth and makes like a gravy out of it. And so I have been using a little bit of that. But I think if I took the xanthan gum and the eggs out, I'd basically be on the lion diet. So I'm kind of close to it.
Okay. And for me, I would say that I haven't really tried it, but I sort of did without intentionally trying it at one point where I was pretty much just eating ribeye steak, putting salt on it and drinking water. This was probably for about a month or so back in the spring that I did this. And it's funny because before that, I was too mad eating twice a day, right? And when I started eating the ribeyes, I was eating about 20 to 24 ounces, depending. And that was pretty much all I would eat that day. And so I kind of did it for that 30 days, and I had really good results. I felt the best during that time period, but I haven't really gone back to it, and I don't know why, but um yeah, that really did work really well for me. So I definitely have to say that. Um so Greg, I want to put this up. Laura said 85 pounds is nothing to sneeze at. That's your weight loss here,
Thank you.
so that's great.
Greg's killing it. Greg is
Yep,
killing it.
yep. And let me see, make sure I'm caught back up again. So Crypto Carnivore says, "Happy you are all thriving. I had many issues. I was trying to tackle IBS, carpal tunnel, skin issues, rashes, almost all resolved except intermittent IBS flare-ups, 80% plus better." That's great.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Yep. All right. All right. So let's see. So Todd, you talked about the lamb that you're gonna do this weekend, right? So we kind of go back into the Labor Day weekend thing here, and trying to keep everybody on course here. Um, how do you do yours? Do you have a smoker, or how do you cook your lamb?
Yeah, so I got a Traeger, and I also have a sous vide machine. And then I've got, what do you call them, an air fryer. So what I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet because I got a big leg of lamb and a rack of lamb. But I think I'm going to sous vide the rack of lamb, and then I'm going to try to sear it in the air fryer I'm going to try to wrap it with cheesecloth and then put a butter compound on it and put it in the air fryer to get the skin crispy. It's kind of a trick with the cheesecloth because the cheesecloth will hold the butter up to the skin, and then you run it through the air fryer and it holds the butter onto the skin, so you'll kind of get a buttery, more crispy skin that way. So I think I'm going to try that, and then I think the the leg of lamb, I think I might actually smoke.
Okay. And Greg, you were talking about smoking a pork butt, right?
Yep, definitely.
So you can do that in a smoker?
I'll do it in a charcoal grill, actually.
Okay.
Yep, I've got it kind of set up, and I put a foil pan in there with some apple cider vinegar. That way it catches the drippings, and I'll use pecan wood in with the charcoal. It'll take 8 to 9 hours to do that, and I think it's a little over 7 pounds, but yeah, it's definitely an 8 or 9 hour cook usually. So, but it should be really good.
All right.
Yeah, it's going to
And
be delicious.
And for my lamb, I'm gonna use I have a Pit Boss pellet grill, and I'm gonna use the smoke setting on that. So that's gonna be great for that. Now, here's a comment I want to bring up. Susan has 5 years, June 2018 to June 2023, lost 140 pounds. Great job. It was slow,
That's awesome.
but clean ingredients. I say as long as you're losing, do what is working for you. That's great
Absolutely.
advice. Yep. As a matter of fact, Greg, I think was that last Friday we were talking about that. Like, you were talking about how you were thinking about maybe going carnivore, but at
Mhm.
the same time, you didn't want to mess with what you're doing because it's working, and that's a
Right.
key point. Wait until you hit a stall or something, because if it's
Yep.
working, just keep going with what's working.
Yep.
Totally.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah, and on that note, I wasn't sure what I wanted to call my channel, and I picked, carnivore cure instead of keto cure, and the only real reason I did that because I believe both of them work, but I wanted to mainly emphasize like the ketovore. I'm all keto, just don't fall into the trap of the processed keto, um, nonsense that all these food companies and stuff and diet get rich quick companies are just trying to manipulate that that keto hot button tag, to make products and stuff that aren't really beneficial is the only reason why I mainly said carnivore, because I was like, I just want people to know, because I didn't know when they said keto, I didn't know there's such a wide array of it.
Yeah.
And what I really mean, and I know Greg eats super clean keto, is to do the real keto, not the commercialized fake garbage keto.
Yeah. I stay away from the net carb stuff and yeah, any of that stuff. Mainly a lot of meat, just a lot of meat and eggs, pretty
Right.
much.
Yeah, like I sit here and I wonder, am I putting myself in a box by, like, because I'm so big on listening to your body and doing what your body wants, and, like I hit a plateau 4 months ago or 3 months ago where I wasn't losing any weight. And my old stupid, dumb brain decided that I needed to cut down the amount I was eating. And so I kept cutting it down. And then I was listening to the steak and butter gal, and she was talking about how, you need to eat more. And yeah, it was crazy. I was eating 1,700 calories a day. And then I bumped it up and I ended up just eating what I wanted, which settled at 3,200 calories. And the weight flew off after that. When I bumped it up to 3,200 calories, weight just dumped off me. It was crazy.
That's
But,
great.
to that point, though, I was like, am I putting myself in a box by not letting myself have pickled jalapenos because I'm carnivore? You know what I mean? How stupid is that? You know what I mean? Yeah, to have
Yeah.
that stupid title, and now all of a sudden I'm worried about eating a pickled jalapeno when there's clearly nothing that's, it's not going to throw me anywhere.
Mhm. All right, so we're gonna get caught up on a few comments here. Crypto Carnivore said, anyone else loading up the freezer this Labor Day weekend? Ribeyes in New York strips under $6 a pound now. Multiple grocery stores. Spent a few hours heat sealing today, and freezer is packed. Wow. So I live in kind of northern Virginia, and I wish I could find those kinds of prices for ribeyes.
Yeah,
I think the cheapest I ever find is maybe like around $9 or $10.
yeah. Yeah, I think it's a rip. I think it's a rip too. I'm in a kind of a high tourist area where I'm at, and so meat's expensive here. But it makes me mad because I live in a state that has 1 million people and 3 million beef cows. So I'm like, why is my beef expensive? I could throw a rock out the window and hit a ribeye. So what the heck is going on here? You know?
Yeah. All right, so let me bring up the
I need to
next
hit
one.
the store and see what I can find for some deals too. I always usually look for the manager special, the stuff that's a day away from being, no good, and I throw it in the freezer. And boy, you can pick up some deals. I bought some chicken this week that was really reasonable, and actually, a couple weeks ago, bought two pork butts that were. It was like an $8 pork butt for $8. I mean,
Right?
you can't beat
Mhm.
that.
No, that's
Yeah,
awesome. I
yeah,
mean,
that is.
that's amazing.
Yeah, it was a great deal.
Yep. All right, so Susan says carnivore 2 months now, 10 more pounds and 11 and a half inches since going carnivore. Wow.
That's awesome.
Great job.
Great job. That's amazing.
And
Very
then
good.
Laura, I crock potted a huge pork butt overnight with salt, pepper, and a dash of garlic powder. Came out melt in your mouth. Redmond smoked salts are good when you can't
Nice.
use a smoker. That's a good idea.
Sounds
Yeah,
really good too.
making me hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been slow cooking about 21 pounds of chuck roast a week lately. That's kind of been my addiction lately. Has been chuck roast.
I just wanted to add real quick, if you want to hear a little bit more of Todd's story, I did an interview with him last week, and it's on my page and it's on his page as well. If you wanted to catch that, I think there's a few more things you talked about that you maybe didn't bring up tonight.
Yeah,
But he's got a great story. It's good to hear it again, anyways. So
it's kind of.
Mhm.
I've been on a few lives lately, so I've been trying to streamline. I know I get long winded, and I'm trying not to test anybody's patience lately.
you're doing great.
I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
So let me find the link to one of those really quick. So you guys keep talking while I find the link here for
Yeah,
that interview.
yeah,
I
no
got it.
worries. Do you put anything on your smoke butt or your pork butts, Greg?
Last time I used mustard as a binder, which I think is okay to do. And then I'm real careful with what I put on there. Some salt. I will put some pepper. I've got a couple of. It's called. What the heck is the name of it now? Pig ass rub. I like to
Yeah,
put that on there. It looks like the ingredients are pretty clean on it. There's not sugar in that one, but I like to use that, and it tastes pretty good. Turns out well. I like the pecan wood. That seems to bring it some nice flavor too. So
yeah, pecan's really good for pork, I think. Yep.
Hello, homesick Buckeye. How you doing, Russ?
Hey, how
Hey,
are
buddy.
you? All right, I'm gonna put this in real quick. So I've got this. I don't know if this is in all the. I don't think it goes to each of our channels chat. So I put it up here at least. This is the link for the interview that Greg did with Todd. And yet that was like, wasn't it like an hour and a half or something like that? So
Yeah,
it
it's
was
about an hour and a half.
nice.
We put it out Friday, I think, on our channels, and we did it Thursday night. So, yeah.
Hmm. Yep.
Yeah,
So definitely check that out. It's a great interview. Let me catch up here. What somebody was talking about. Where is it? Here we go. So 88 cents a pound at Kroger, and I think that's the pork butt. Yeah, here we go. That pork butt
Oh,
at
that's great.
88 cents a pound at
That's
Kroger.
that's a
That's
steal.
crazy. That
that's
is. That's
amazing.
crazy.
I'd buy a new Chester freezer just to fill it at those prices.
Low carb carnivore says he gets a rib roast and strip roast and cut their own steaks. Yes, so I go to Costco a lot, and I like to get the big ribeye roast there, and you can cut them to the size you want and everything. So when I was doing that, when I was talking about in the spring, when I was basically doing lion diet, I was just eating the ribeyes. I was cutting about a 24-ounce steak, and that was like what I would eat each day.
Yeah.
And it worked for me then. I'm not sure. It seems like I'm eating a little bit more now, so I might need a little more than that now if I went back to OMAD, but I've been kind of doing 2MAD again. So
I'm
let's
trying to,
see.
it's so crazy. I'm trying to do 2MAD, but I've done OMAD for so long that I, I eat it and then I try to eat a smaller meal so that I'll be hungry later. And then I don't get hungry till like 8 o'clock at night. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to eat till tomorrow. It's too late to eat. I'm having a hard time getting back to 2 meals.
I find that if I try to do OMAD, I get hungry and then I want a snack. So I'm better off just
Mm,
eating twice in a
Well,
day.
I think
Otherwise, that way I don't have the snacks.
Well,
Snackies.
I think it's smart because I think so. I don't know if you guys ever follow Thomas DeLorme. He's got a very comprehensive keto channel, but he showed the latest statistics on OMAD and fasting and intermittent fasting. And the fact of the matter is that I know that I'm actually not doing myself any favors by doing OMAD as long as I have, because what happens is your body actually gets used to it. And
Mhm.
so fasting's actually more beneficial when it's a stressor to the body. But if you do it so long that your body gets used to it, it actually slows your metabolism down. So what they showed is that the most effective way to do OMAD fasting is to only do it twice a week. And so if you do it more than twice a week, the benefits from it actually decrease. And that's why I'm trying to eat 2MAD 5 days a week and do OMAD twice a week. And right now I'm only getting 2MAD about twice a week. I'm doing OMAD about 5 times a week, but I'm trying to convert back.
mm, yeah. All right. So Susan has a post here that this is really going to get me going, I think. There should be a law against food companies labeling their products keto, and they are full of bad non-keto ingredients. Most people who don't do their research on the diet have no clue to the lies. This is so true. If you go to the store, there is so many products out there that say keto friendly or keto approved or whatever on them. And then you look at the back, and just they'll have like 50 different ingredients, and like 3 or 4 of them are the different artificial sweeteners and stuff like that, and it's
Yeah.
just like, oh,
Yeah.
it
Yeah. I mean, keto
so many
processed
people don't
food.
know.
No, I didn't. And I had to learn that keto processed food is a real thing. And it's just as, maybe not just as crappy, but as the standard American processed food, but it's its evil twin.
Mhm. Yeah. Here, let's see.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if you guys knew this about my channel, but originally I was a product review channel. And this is before I got into losing weight. And what happened is I started on this weight loss journey, and then I started reviewing all these keto products and weight loss products. needless to say, it wasn't the healthy stuff. But if you want to have a good laugh, go back and look at some of my older videos where I'm comparing some of that stuff that has the keto branding on it. And,
Right.
that's, like I said, early in my weight loss journey. And I could get by with eating it. I lost the weight, but I couldn't do that now,
Oh,
definitely. And that's, my
well,
diet has changed and evolved. So, and I become more educated and a little smarter with my choices. So, makes a
oh, so
difference.
yeah, I mean, back then
Mhm.
they could put like MCT oil in anything and call it keto, Like it was so stupid what they were doing. And you'd fall into it until you understood really what low carb, animal based ketogenic diets, ketogenic is not it's a metabolic, it's a state of metabolic, process, it's not a diet. It's, being in ketosis is not a diet. It's a way of eating to get into ketosis. And when you throw all that crap in there, it just ruins you, you know?
Yep. All right. So let's see. Laura says alternating daily keeps your body guessing and not stalling. So that's the alternating, I think, between the OMAD and the 2MAD that she's talking about.
Mhm.
I totally agree. I
Definitely.
think, and it makes so much sense.
Hmm. I think that's kind of like Greg, like where you're alternating too between like keto and carnivore. How
Yep.
that's the same idea, right? That it's keeping your body guessing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Hmm. All right. So let's see. I think we're caught up on comments. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat for us. Um, we'll give it a few more minutes here for questions. I know we've already been on for a while.
I'm in no hurry. Whatever you need.
Mhm.
All right. Um, so one thing we haven't talked about really for this weekend, we talked a little bit about, how to eat and maybe bring certain snacks to the different parties and so forth, right? So that you're not tempted with some of the bad stuff. But what we haven't talked about is how to deal with alcohol. So, Greg, how do you deal with that? Do you drink any alcohol or do you try to keep it to a minimum or what do you do in
I
those
will say
situations?
this, I'll be completely honest, since I've lost the 85 pounds, I have drank alcohol along the way. Um, Usually there's a couple things I do though. If one, I drink very little. If I do, it's just a can of beer, be like Miller Lite. I think it's like 3 grams of carbs per can, roughly. Um, Also, there's like a sugar-free Smirnoff Ice that I've drank before, and I think that's like 2.6. Um, just I don't have one of those or two of those, but I would take that into account going into the day. It's like, well, I got to make sure that I don't overdo it on my carbs. You have to take that in consideration. Now, it's not one of those things I have to necessarily drink. It's just once in a while, yeah, I'll have a beer. But I take that into account when I look at it. Now, so I mean, I've lost 85 pounds and I still have drank a beer. It hasn't killed me or hurt me. Is it a wise choice on my part? Probably not. But at the same time, I do enjoy a beer once in a while. As you can see, my beer signs there and up there. And granted, I don't drink those beers. It has to be a very light beer, or like I said, the sugar-free Smirnoff Ice if I am going to drink. So
And Todd, what's your thoughts on alcohol?
It's easy for me because I don't. I knew my whole life I had a terribly addictive personality. So, my dad, when he was younger, he struggled with alcohol abuse type thing. He told me it wasn't worth it, and I listened. So I never picked up the habit of drinking. I wish I would have listened to him about Copenhagen. I still I chew, but yeah, it's not a problem for me. So I don't have much experience with it, honestly.
Okay. And I'm going to go to a couple of comments here. So, Ellison has said, I wonder how long it took her to gain it back after she started normally again. Do we know? I'm a little confused. And Laura asked too, did I miss a comment? Um, Do you guys know what we were talking? What just
Let's
talked
just
about?
take this.
So let's see. So we go back here. Wonder how long it took her to gain it back after she started eating normally again.
If anybody's
Not
commenting,
sure.
I don't know how you guys see comment. I'm so new at this. I don't see comments on my screen, so I don't know if anybody is commenting to me or not.
You know,
I
on
don't know.
the right side, it says there's like
Oh, here we go.
private
Speaking
chat, and
about
then
the
there's
lady eating
comments. If you
peas.
click on the comments, you should be able to see them all. I
I
believe.
actually
Okay.
don't. I'm doing it on my phone, so I don't see it.
Oh, I gotcha. Yep, different format.
Okay, so I think that maybe we missed a comment because she's saying, speaking about the lady eating peas. I think I saw a comment in here somewhere where somebody was eating peas, but I don't remember where it was at.
I think
I
JP
don't know.
said something about someone eating peas until they lost weight.
Oh, it's
Oh,
crazy.
Oh yeah, I heard of a woman that it's at 8:22 p.m. I heard of a woman that ate a can of peas until she lost all her weight.
oh,
I think that's what Allison was probably referring to. Yep.
I lost 200 pounds once drinking Sobe No Fear and eating honey roasted peanuts. That's all I would drink. I'd drink one Sobe No Fear every day, and I'd eat honey roasted peanuts. And I was like 19 years old, and I was in the field as an electrician. And I did that until my heart about exploded.
okay. So Crypto Carnivore said, I heard when losing weight it is better to avoid alcohol as new skin being generated will be less tight and cause more loose skin issues. But who knows? I avoid it. Yeah, and I think it depends for everybody too. Like I've noticed I tend to get allergy issues or sinus issues when I drink. But if you think about it, alcohol has a lot of sugar in it, so it's probably stalling weight loss. It's probably adding if you already have some insulin resistance, it's probably adding to that problem as well. So it's probably best to avoid it or keep it as minimal as you can. Um, but yeah, it's probably not the best. Okay, and we're gonna go back to the channel thing. So yeah, so we are seeing it on 1 out of 3 channels, the comments. So when in here, as I'm hosting this, and well, I think all 3 of us can see, we can see all the comments come into here, but so if somebody is on my channel, they are only seeing the comments that are coming in on my channel. And if somebody's on Greg's channel, they're only seeing the comments on Greg's channel. And if somebody's on Todd's, they're only seeing the comments on Todd's. That's why I try and bring as many comments as possible up here so that people can see. Like, yeah, Susan says I'm not in their chat. I think they're in Todd's chat. So I try to bring up as many comments as I can up into here so everybody can see them, because it depends on which channel you're actually watching the live stream on as to where you see the comments. So
We sure appreciate all of you watching tonight. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thank you very much. And if I miss a comment or I'm using my phone for this live stream and it won't let me see the comments right now, but I do go back after the live and I answer any questions and reply to all the comments. So I will get back to you guys.
and Susan's going back and forth on Brian and Greg's channels because she has 2 devices.
Show off.
So Laura had a neighbor who went on a whiskey and weed diet and lost a ton of weight. Her brain and her liver were screaming for relief.
Oh boy.
All right. I think we are caught up again. So it's a little bit off of carnivore here, but just a little bit of what I'm working on this weekend. So I have a dog and 4 cats here at the house, and we've had the dog's starting to get older, and she's had a few accidents on carpeting. And so we have 2 rooms on the first floor that are carpeted, and the rest have real hardwood floor. And yeah, we've gotten to the point that we don't want to deal with the cleaning the carpets anymore. So my weekend project that my wife and I are doing, and I started before this live stream, is tearing out the carpet in those 2 rooms, and then we're putting in a new it's a hardwood laminate, so it's not gonna be the same as the real hardwood in the others, but it's fairly close in color. So we're gonna put that into those 2 into those 2 rooms. So that's my big weekend project. Um, and I know that's not really carnivore related, but I thought I would bring that up because it sort of is, in that before carnivore, my wife would have came to me and said, like, let's do this. I would have been like, I would have tried to find an excuse not to do it. Or I would have been like, well, you're going to have to find somebody that's going to do this because there's no way I'm going to do that. And here I am now. I'm on carnivore. My attitude is different. I'm a nicer person. I'm not as upset and down and sad and stuff like I used to be. And I have more energy and feel like doing things. And I'm I'm doing it. And it's funny, the last time that I did anything like this in terms of like putting in a wood floor or anything was probably, man, 20 years ago or so. We had an entryway in a different house we lived in that I put a wood floor in. Um, so that just goes to show you really how carnivore can totally change your mindset and make you actually start acting like you did when you were younger before you really started getting the issues with the way that you ate, like metabolic diseases and so forth that was messing with you. um so that's my interesting thing that's sort of carnivore related but sort of not carnivore this weekend. So let me
Well,
ask you two. Greg, I'll start with you. Anything that you're planning on doing this weekend like that, or are you just chilling?
We had a rummage sale at my house today because my mother-in-law went into assisted living here a couple weeks ago, and we're dealing with some of her extra stuff. So we had a rummage sale today, and we were having one in the morning. Other than that, cooking pork butt on Saturday, visiting with family on Sunday, for the most part. I also take my mother out Sunday at noon for she meets her girlfriends for coffee. She's 86, and she has hospice come in once a week now, and I make sure she gets out and spends time with her friends because she's 86. You just don't know how long she's going to be here, and we do the best I can to help her out. And so we'll do that on Sunday. I'll probably bring my daughter with so she can spend some time with her grandma, and yeah, just visit with family, have a good weekend, make some memories. That's what it's about.
And then how about you, Todd? Anything that you're planning other than just relaxing and keeping on the carnivore diet?
yeah, I got kind of a full week, and I'm planning on. So I've been writing down ideas for. So I've had a few subscribers ask me how to get started on carnivore, and so I actually just started a series, and I put up my first video on how to get started, but it's part one because I want to break them down. And I didn't even mean to go as long as I told you. I'm long-winded, and I didn't mean to go as long as I did. I was trying to make a 15-minute video, and I made a 30-minute video, but I'm going to try breaking it down. But I have a list here of videos in that series, so I'm going to try to make about 14 more videos this weekend, smaller ones, and get them ready to upload to help a couple of my subscribers that have been asking. So I'm going to get that going, and then I've got a live stream with stay or live long or stay strong, live long, Rod, on Monday. But it was funny that you brought up that laminate flooring. That is so funny because this week and last week I was watching YouTube videos because I can actually think of a future here, and I want to change out all the floors in my mom's house because she had pets, and the floors are in rough shape. So I was actually just this week and last week watching videos and picking out laminate flooring, and my goal is that by next summer I will be light enough that I can get on my knees and put all that flooring in. So it was really funny that you're talking about laminate flooring because I totally feel you there. I'm like, I can't believe that I'm making plans to change out the floors when literally 10 months ago, I was going to the bathroom and I was walking. I wasn't able to stay in my bed, but I was walking by my bed and I slipped on the floor and I kind of fell up against my bed and went down on my knees. And I, honest to God, it was a miracle. It took me like an hour to get off the floor just 10 months ago. And now I'm making plans to change out 2,000 square foot of flooring. You know?
You guys,
Yeah.
I gotta say, you guys are ambitious. Of course, I am the oldest one here. I'm pretty sure. So, but I think I did a flooring 6 years ago, and I said never again. It just hurt my knees too much. And now my arthritis is so bad. But hey, if you guys can do it, the more power to you. So,
Oh, I look so forward to that because, you know, I was always big, but I was able to carry it better when I was younger, you know, and I was always in construction. And I haven't liked, you know, losing the mobility as I got older, still fighting this. That was terrible because I had the ability and the knowledge to do all these things, but I couldn't do them, you know, and it was driving me crazy, you know. Now I'm so looking forward to being able to rip out the floor, you know, and the baseboard. And I want to rip out the baseboard, the floor, change the floor, put new baseboard trim, paint the walls, paint the ceiling. Like my brain's going crazy because it's like I got a new lease on life. I'm going to rip this place apart. You know, like, and I'm right now I'm cleaning out my garage and putting a new weight room in there, and I'm picking out what I'm going to do on the walls, and I'm going to try to make it a cool weight room. And I'm getting ready over the next 2 weeks. I'm going to try to make a better YouTube studio. I'm getting some of those sound panels and stuff because I'm sure you guys are tired of listening to my mom's cat cry and my ice maker dry
I've
ice.
not heard that yet.
Yeah, I haven't heard it either. All right. So I'm going to put on the screen here one last time Todd's channel. And then I'm going to also put Greg's channel up. So there's Todd's channel. Go ahead and check out his channel and subscribe if you have not already.
I'm looking forward to more of Todd's videos.
I'm trying to. Have you liked my intros, Greg? I've been trying to get better.
I do like it. I got to get a little fancier myself or something because yeah, I saw that. I'm like, whoa.
I'm trying to get better. I was particularly that the last video that I did that's got my logo with the laminin protein cross on there. I was particularly proud of my intro and outro on that one.
You did great.
Thank you.
All right. And then I'm going to put a plug in here for Greg's channel. If you're not already subscribed to his channel, go check it out.
Thank
and
you.
Subscribe.
I watch your stuff every day, Greg.
I put out a lot of videos this week, but next week, my wife's on vacation all week, I guess, too. That's one other thing that's going on, but we're going to pretty much be around here. But it's one of those things that I'm probably only going to do. I think I got one scheduled next week. I might try to do another one or two, but usually I try to do a 3-week and then I'll do a short or just make a short video. But sometimes I get a little windy too and end up doing another video. So you just never know sometimes.
I'm trying to catch up. I brought in a professional, Rob at Stay Strong, Live Long, as a YouTube consultant, and he's helping me out Monday to figure out how not to be so bad at this.
You're doing great. Dude, don't worry about it. Just be you. You're doing great. So
I appreciate it.
So is that was that him and that was with Adam and Carrie on the live stream they did the other day? Or I think it was a live stream. I don't remember.
Yeah, he's from Sydney.
Okay.
Yeah, he's in Sydney, Australia. Super nice guy. Very nice guy.
Yeah, I did see part of that live stream. I think it was a live stream, or maybe it's a premiere. I can't remember, but yeah.
Yeah, he helps people out. He's a IT guy, and he helps people out. He has 2 YouTube channels, and he's getting real successful with it. And he, he's a lot smarter than I am at these things. So he's going to help me out. And also, he just helps some people out, but on out of the goodness of his heart. But he's also got, if anybody's interested, go to his page because he also you can book him and he'll help you out on Fiverr. So, and he does freelance work on Fiverr, and he's awesome.
Nice.
Cool. All right. So I'm going to,
Hey, Brian, make sure you put your page up there too.
Yeah.
You put your
yeah, let me find it.
It just says Brian on there. We don't know where you're at.
Let's see. All right.
I've been kind of insulted lately. Every time I put a picture of my dog up on Instagram, she gets more likes than I do. I think I'm gonna start having my dog co-host.
better put your dog in the intro video.
Exactly. uh,
All right, there's my
There we
channel.
go.
there we go.
All right, so I'm gonna wind this down here now because I do have to get back to working on that carpet and flooring project that I was talking about.
Lucky you.
Oh, yeah, I need to work on it a little bit more here tonight before I go to bed. So, Todd, I'm gonna give you the floor here first, and then I'll go to Greg. But Todd, why don't you just take a couple minutes here to let the audience know whatever you want, whether it's about your journey or about carnivore or low carb in general.
Yeah, I mean, what I want everybody to understand that, for years when I was trying all the diets that didn't work, man, every time it failed, I just would beat myself up about it. I thought that there was something wrong with me, that I wasn't as disciplined, or, I didn't have enough resolve, or I was weaker than everybody else. You see these people that aren't, that are skinnier, healthier, more mobile, all these things. And you beat yourself up over and over. And it wasn't until I started studying. There's a guy named Gary Taub that has a book out called The Case Against Sugar. But he outlines the fact that, that 74%, 75% of men and it's like 67% of women are overweight or obese in this country. And, if you watch since like the 1970s, the progression of obesity and metabolic disease in this country, and just the decline of health, the only way that can happen is if there's an environmental change, if something has happened to our food to make us sick. You can you can compel the behavior of 74% of the United States population if you paid them. There's no other way to do it. So all that I'm saying is we all have our hand to play, and maybe we've been complacent or whatever, and we have our part to blame. And I'm not saying that it's not going to take a change, and you do have to want to change. But what I am saying is there was a reason that those other things didn't work. We've been lied to. We have had the wrong information. The system's working against us over greed and money and everything else, everything else they're gaining from it. And that's why it's been such a struggle. That's why it wasn't working. Our food environment has changed, and our medical system and our food system is a complete, dumpster fire of propaganda that's been lying to you. And so you got to stop beating yourself up, and you got to throw that stuff away, and you got to change your mindset and understand that this is not a fad diet. This is not hype. This will change your life, and it'll give you the tools and the health and the strength and the clarity of mind to, to get your quality of life back, get your life back, have a better future, And so that's what I really want people to understand, that I'm not on here because I'm trying to sell somebody something. I'm on here because this truly gave me my life back. And I want everybody else that hears this to get theirs back too, because it's completely obtainable.
All right, Greg, the floor is yours.
All right. I don't know if most of my viewers know that I have been a part-time life coach for about 14 years. And All I can say on your weight loss journey, obviously I have my own issues too, and had to go through some things to get where I'm at today. But if you're going to start a weight loss plan, or if you're working on one, I think the key is never give up. Keep working the plan, adjust the plan as much as you need to figure out what works and what works well with your body, and then just keep executing the plan, make adjustments, keep working it. If you stall out for a while, just keep working, never quit. You'll get to where you're trying to go. And I just encourage you, keep plugging away. If something's not working, make some adjustments, figure it out, what works for your body. And I don't think this doesn't matter what weight loss plan you're on. I think it's one of those things, you keep going and figure out what works for you, and just never give up. That's I guess what I want to say to you. And I just appreciate you all watching tonight. Thank you very much. And I thank Brian and Todd both for being here. Both great men who bring a lot to the table, and I enjoy both of their channels, and they're great human beings. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, Greg. Once again, we've had a few lives together. It's been great. Todd, great to really get to meet you for the first time and have
You're
you on and have you share your story. It's been great. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you the next time. Bye.
Take care, guys.
See you guys. Thank you for watching.